You are good to go.
Good to go. I'm going to call the Environmental Concerns and Real Property Tax Services Committee to order. It's July 20th, 2021. For the record, I was here on time. We waited all this time for Supervisor Bramer. And now that she's here, we can start. I need a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Somebody want to? Peter? Don't everybody vote at once. I need a second.
Oh, second.
Who was that?
Claudia.
Claudia, thank you. Any additions, deletions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, what do you got for us, Lex?
Okay, we're gonna start with discussion items, and the first thing on the discussion items is Mosher's Garage, Johnsburg parcel 133.8-1-27. We are moving ahead with testing. I met ATL out there on Friday morning. They were there for about 3 hours, and they did their asbestos and lead testing for the property. Most of the doorways that were wooden, as well as the casings, they're finding lead there. They did take multiple samples for asbestos testing. They said the glass looked good. The caulk around the windows looked good. So fingers crossed, it may not come back as bad as we think or not think.
Great.
So currently, I just wanted to let y'all know that there is $119,080.14 in outstanding taxes on that property. So we still do not have title to this property. If we move forward with the demolition, we would have to take title in order to demo the building. Couldn't just tear it down under the temporary incidents of ownership. I believe that the town is still interested in the property if we keep moving forward. So I know that the typical is the outstanding taxes or a third of the value, whichever is less, if they so choose to purchase it from the county after we foreclose on it. I have talked to Patrick Holloway from the Spill Compensation Fund. And, you know, he's willing to still work with us on removing the rest of the dirty dirt once the building comes down. So because the contamination of the soil had gone under the building, so they couldn't go any further when we were there the last time. So that's my report on Mullins.
Do you have any idea, Lexi, when ATL will respond?
They were hoping to have results back to me in a report form in 2 to 3 weeks.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
once we have the report, then we would have to decide how we want to handle going forward. Last time when we had Mullins, we had a plan prepared by ATL as to what we wanted to do going forward. We could look at getting someone else to do the plan. And I would like to, if we go forward with the demolition, really consider maybe putting out an RFP also for a monitor for the site. So we used ATL last time, but there was a lot of back and forth. They may be the successful bidder, I don't know, but I just think that if we do go that route, I would like to put that part out as well for an RFP.
Okay. Anybody on the committee have any questions? All right then. Kevin?
Yeah, so refresh my memory. This is the old garage on Route 8.
Correct.
So has anything been done to it?
We did back in 2017, we removed the tanks and we removed
You remitted
a
some
whole
of the dirt, right?
boatload of the dirt.
But now it's the building.
It's under the building. What happened is the contamination from the soil has gone under the building.
Okay.
But DEC couldn't go any further with removing that because the building stood in the way. So they said the only way they could finish the work was to get the building tore down. So Supervisor Hogan did come up with 3 estimates for that. I don't know how they'll stand once the report comes back for the lead and asbestos, because some of them were basing it on what was found in the building.
Is it lead paint? Is that what they're talking about?
I would believe lead paint
Lead
because
paint around the casing?
the casing and the doors themselves inside of the garage, right across the middle. I don't know if the back was an addition that was put on. There's this huge like wooden barn door, with the cross across it. And that there, they said, has lead. So it's the paint because it was painted a white paint. They're the old, like in the office space, there's one where I would have thought would have been lead in the paint because the paint was all peeling off the walls. They said there wasn't lead in that paint. But then in the next little section of the office, they said there was lead in that paint. It looked like the same exact paint to me. It was this baby blue paint.
So you're just doing a study to see what
Mhm.
it's contained, and then you're gonna go from there.
Correct.
But you're gonna have to tear it down.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
it's inevitable.
we gotta hurry up before it falls down.
Yes.
Yeah.
The back half of the building, the metal roof is like, it was peaked. It comes down and then over, like where it's buckling. So it is,
Well, it's an eyesore too, so it needs.
a huge eyesore. Mhm.
And so we went and got temporary ownership through the court.
We had that. It had never been closed from before, so we were able to go forward. Yep. I do have one other thing too, though, on that. I had reached out to the AG's office because at our last committee meeting, there was question asked if there was anything. I think Supervisor McGowan asked this about doing maybe a joint effort to try to recoup some money for cleanup with the AG's office because they are going to naturally try to recoup some of their money. I spoke to a man named Daniel Schlesinger, and he's the attorney working on the case. And he stated with the law that they're using to try to collect their portion back if they can, there was no way of us doing a joint effort with them on that.
Okay,
Lexingburg?
Excuse me?
go ahead, Brad.
What was the name of that attorney?
His
Dan
name,
Schlesinger.
thank you.
Fletching.
SCHLESINGER. Daniel, and I have his contact information in my office if you want any of that.
Anybody else?
There you go. I'm looking for you.
Okay. What else you got for us?
Okay, next under discussion is just the auction parcels.
Oh, excuse me.
Yes, Brad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Robert? Mr. Twillinger, have you had a chance to look into it since we can't jump in with Dan? My understanding, like I said, this turns out to be a lot of money. There seems to be a lot of assets that were here and in Johnsburg, and then, they walk away, divide up the properties, and they leave this one for the taxpayers. I have a problem with that. And I know I brought it up before, and I would really like to continue looking into to see how we can get some help in recouping some of this money. There's got to be some kind of law there that you can't pollute a property and then just walk away and expect the county, to the town, the state, or the federal government to clean up and not take any responsibility, especially if you have other assets that were divided up all, prior to walking away from this property. And that's what I find very concerning. So I know we talked about this. Is there anything that you could say you followed up? I know you're a little busy and you got a few things on your plate right now, but that'd be something I'd like to keep moving on.
I did follow up on this one, and it's good to look into for future cases too, when things like this come along again, to have it, the big key is, are there assets there to be able to go after and grab and get if you get a money judgment for some kind of contamination or pollution, or like in this case where the AG would want to go after them to recoup some of their costs that New York State, that the DEC has incurred. Are there assets there that you can get to seize and sell and be able to get money for it? I mean, it's one thing to be able to take them to court and get a judgment, then it's another thing to collect on it. Looked into this one, actually talked to a couple law firms on it, and without any definite assets there, which it looks like there isn't much, the estate prior to passing of the person that's still the owner of record, looks like things were given away inter vivos and depleted, and in a way that really is probably not illegal, probably legally done. We're at a point where it's going to be hard to try to get assets. I don't know if it can be done or not, really, tell you the truth, to try to get something that you can recoup from.
Lex?
I know that the AG's office is definitely looking into the transfers of the property and the way that they were done. They feel that there may be a way of going against them on that there's some concerns about the timing of the transfers and when they were transferred. So they may be able to go after them anyways, even though they've been conveyed to a son. So it is something they are looking into. Robert, I can also
that would-
share the AG's information with you if you'd like, and you could maybe speak with them and see what they're looking at.
That'd be nice if we could kind of coordinate a little bit. I mean, that would be the way you'd have to go, is to see when the transfers took place, and if you can show something there that was done in a way that's not legitimate looking in the transfers, that would be the way to look at it. Depends on when they were done and accomplished and what was going on at that time with things. Yeah, that's really the crux of it, is that.
Well, I appreciate you following through and bringing us, both of you. And if we could just stay on top of that, and it maybe the AG will let us squeak in somehow. But I mean, if they have a way of doing it and there's still some left over, maybe we can follow suit and go after. But it's just very concerning for me, to do that. And you're right. As the time of all the other properties are divided up, they just walked away from this one because, they polluted it, and that bothers me. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, Lex.
Okay. Auction parcels, we're still on track, moving forward with our foreclosure this year. As of this morning, we still have 47 parcels in. 17 of those 47 have extensions, either till the end of August, or there's a couple that go into the beginning of September. So I do have here a couple more lists as of today. If anybody's interested, I could share this information. You can have a hard copy, or I could email you a copy if anybody wants to look at what's left. I'm finding a lot of residential properties this year, which usually isn't the typical. We usually have a few, but more residential this year, I think, than vacant.
I'm surprised. Market's really high. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
So basically you got 30.
Mhm.
Anybody on the committee have anything? Okay.
Okay, next is Mullins property, Queensberry parcel 302.8-1-2. I included in your packet two things: an estimate of the cost of testing and cleanup, and also a parcel status report from the Warren County Treasurer's Office showing the $339,648.16 in outstanding taxes on that parcel, and the testing and cleanup costs to the county is $141,118.11.
Okay.
You want to?
No, go ahead.
I guess we need to really have a discussion as to how we want to move forward with this parcel. I know that back when I started moving forward with the RFP to have the building torn down and to move forward with that, myself, at the time, the committee chair, Claudia Bramer, Treasurer Swan, we had had discussions about, what we would do with this property once it came down. And we were surmising that it would go to a foreclosure auction like we've done with anything else that we have foreclosed on. So we took this in a separate foreclosure. If we decide to move forward with foreclosure, or a foreclosure sale, I would recommend that we do it in a separate foreclosure auction. The amount of outstanding taxes are pretty high. We're never going to recoup that from a sale. But if we merge it in with our regular auction, which has a numerous other parcels that, also have outstanding taxes, I don't foresee that the county would make the revenue code that we have for the foreclosure auction. So my recommendation would be a separate foreclosure sale on this property. And the auction company that we have this year does do online auctions. They could do an online auction, and I believe we could set a minimum bid price. It's a matter of coming up with that minimum bid price, but that's my recommendation. I believe there's other people that might want to speak to the Mullins property.
Anybody on the board? Miss Bramer?
Thanks. Just to follow up with what Lexi said, and a reminder of all the hard work that she has done throughout this entire process about, lining up ATL to do the initial investigations, then the RFP for the demo, and then all of that stuff having to do with the monitor at the site. That was really a lot of labor intensive work. So anyway, but going back to that, like Lexi said, we did have discussions, and I'm going to put Ryan more into that category of people who were talking about what we were going to do with this building and the amount of money and time that the county had already expended. Everyone will recall that I tried to get us to hold off on tearing the building down so that we would put the property out for bids with the building standing, because I really thought that we could get someone interested in buying the building and renovating it and doing something pretty neat along the bike path. Maybe, an ice cream shop or a bike repair shop or something like that. That was a vision that I had, and the board did not want to hold off. We went ahead and demoed the building, and a lot of the conversation at that time was that, well, the property will be more valuable once we tear the building down, more valuable to people, prospective purchasers. They will have more interest in purchasing the property after the building is down. So now here we are, and the building is down. And I think that this is the time we need to go forward, like Lexi suggested, with a separate auction to sell the property and see what kind of offers we get. We could put a minimum bid, like she said, or we don't have to, and we can put it out there. I do want to remind people that at the time, before the building was down, we did have interested parties. There were people who contacted myself, contacted Supervisor Beatty, and contacted Lexi. But I will say there were no formal offers made at that time because we never put it out for formal bids. We never requested formal bids to purchase the property in the building. So I want to make that clear on the record. And as far as, holding this piece of property for the county, I don't see why we should do that at this time. I think we should try to put it out for an auction and see what we get for bidders for a purchase, a third-party purchase, to put it back on the tax rolls and make it work for us. Again, we've already lost so much tax money on this. And I don't see it as, I know that Supervisor Stroud is going to have the proposal to keep it for a parking lot. People in Queensbury can park at that parking lot up on Country Club Road. It's less than a mile. I double checked it this morning. It's 0.8 miles away on the bike path. A parking lot right there with the porta potties. And anybody in the city can just park on city streets to access the bike path. I don't see a pressing need for a parking lot right there. And my last point is that if the town really wants this as a piece of property to complement whatever the town is doing on its biking and complete streets projects, the town board is perfectly able to purchase the property out of the foreclosure, just like any other piece. At the formula that is set, it's the back taxes are a third of the value. And one more piece I will mention is that the Queensberry Town Assessor has already reassessed that piece of property now that the building is down. So we have an up-to-date assessment on the land itself, providing the value that the town board, a third of that value would be what the town board needs to purchase it out of, the foreclosure. So my suggestion is that we move forward with the foreclosure in a separate online auction.
I'm gonna hold that thought for a minute. You covered a lot of territory there for a guy my age. First off, as a supervisor of the town, I wouldn't sell a piece of property with environmental concerns on it. And I think that was our opinion at the time. And I disagree with you. The value of the property is much more after you clean it up than it is prior, because it's an unknown how much cleanup you have. You don't know until you go in and clean it up. So I would disagree with you on that point. I would strongly agree and with you wholeheartedly on appraising Lexi's involvement in this. She's gone above and beyond her call of duty here with this thing. Spent a lot of time dealing with a lot of people, some of them contentious, and has stuck to it and gotten through this. And we really appreciate your effort, Lexi. I have mixed feelings about selling it without offering it to, I know John's interested in it. John, you want to speak about that?
Yeah, please. And if I might, I have a proposed resolution I'd like to hand to the committee,
Okay,
if I may.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
No, now, even with the building option.
I too want to thank Lexi for all her effort to get us where we are. I mean, for decades, that building and that property sat there. It was available. Nobody showed any interest in it. Any of the parties that Supervisor Bramer refers to never went to the town with any interest. I checked downstairs. I also checked with the assessor. And I said, well, given the value of the property across the street, approximately 40,000 an acre, and given the history of this property, the zoning, the setbacks, the triangular configuration, its location along a public bike trail, it's very confining, very limited as to its interest to anybody. And furthermore, there are some toxic issues that remain. However, we have a unique opportunity to put together a hub parking area. The city of Glens Falls is looking at developing a multimodal trail as per some grant money they received to the Coles Woods area. And Mayor Hall said he would like to link that to the bike trail. And this parking area is a perfect hub for that. And the town is working with the city on trying to interconnect these trail systems. So you have a piece of property that probably is of little interest to anybody else, but of great interest to the public. It's a far superior parking opportunity for local visitors and residents. And much better than the Country Club roadside. But you know what? A popular trail like the Warren County Bikeway, it's good to have multiple parking opportunities, multiple facility opportunities. If I might, I'd like to just overview my thought by reading the proposed resolution that I put together.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you. Approving a one-year postponing of the public sale of lot number 302.8-1-2, which is 275 Bay Road, also known as the Mullen site, for the purpose of investigating the site's viability as a pedestrian bicycle parking facility. Whereas Warren County is the current owner of lot number 302.8-1-1, 275 Bay Road, Queensbury, New York. And whereas Warren County has expended taxpayer monies to remove the parcel's pre-existing building that posed multiple public hazards, asbestos presence among others. And whereas Warren County is also the owner of the Warren County Bikeway, a paved 9.4-mile multi-use trail for bicycling, walking, and running. And whereas Warren County Bikeway runs alongside and directly adjacent to this parcel's southwest property line. And whereas this currently vacant lot provides a unique opportunity to provide a facility that would better accommodate the users of the adjacent bikeway. And whereas this facility would benefit local residents and visitors for many generations to come. And whereas this approximately 1 acre lot has a contamination history, is triangular configuration, has the town of Queensbury's 30-foot setback requirements, commercial light industrial zoning, all of which would have potential negative impacts on this parcel's value. And whereas this site is uniquely located and will make for an excellent hub site, a bicycle pedestrian site that would provide parking and possibly other amenities like Butterfly Park for residents and visitors who seek to use our trails and routes, access to Warren County Bikeway, Coles Woods Trail, Feeder Canal Trail, Champlain Canal Trail, Halfway Brook Trail, Rush Pond Trail, and all their potential offshoots. And whereas as a pedestrian bicycle facility, this site could offer our residents and visitors who bring in tourism revenues a parking area, interpretive signage, a possible bicycle repair station, and more. And this kind of infrastructure makes for a potential candidate for outstanding grant funding. And be it resolved that the public sale of this property be postponed for this year to enable the investigating of the site's viability as a pedestrian bicycle facility. And be it further resolved that Warren County Planning and Community Development Department will work with the town of Queensbury and the city of Glens Falls and the AGFTC in researching potential design developments and grant opportunities for this proposed Warren County Bikeway facility. And I believe that there is outstanding public support for us at least postponing the delay of the sale of this parcel and looking at using it as an opportunity, a recreational public facility.
So you're looking at 5 months, John?
No, 1 year.
Oh, sounded like 5 months in your resolution.
I think I said 1 year.
Yeah, you said that in the beginning. Okay.
So, and I talked to the assessor
Okay.
and I said, what do you think this could sell for on a 20,000 I offered? And she says, on a good day. Maybe. So if
Was that the town assessor?
that was the Terry Ross, who was the former president of the New York State Association of Assessors. And widely sought after for her advice and knowledge on assessments by local communities.
Okay,
So given that, I just think it's an excellent opportunity to use this. I mean, if it's gone, once it's gone, it'll never come back. And if we realize later the opportunities this could have for parking area and bicycle and hiking facility as a hub for multiple trails, I'm offering that we pursue this. Give me a year to work on it.
okay. Kevin?
Well, what is the harm in doing a online auction? You can always refuse the bid. And why not put it up, test the waters? Doesn't sell the property, but it will give you an idea of what somebody's willing to pay for it. And then if it doesn't come close to the $69,000 that the town would have to pay, you can always refuse the bid, John. I mean, I think, to delay this whole process for a year, that's a year lost. So you can do a dual track. And how long is the auction going to take? 30 days, Lexi?
It depends on how we put it out there. I'd have to double check with the auction company to see.
Right, the most
How
it's
long
gonna
they have
take
it
is
online.
45 days to advertise it, put it out there. Get your bids in. If you get somebody who's very, very interested, then you can test the waters. If I would say, rather than delay a whole year to try to, I mean, you're kicking the can down the road. At least get an idea what the John Q. public would pay for that piece of property.
Anybody-
That would be my take, but
Anybody?
I don't know.
Dennis?
Brian, you want to intervene?
No, I just had a detailed question on for the county treasurer maybe is, do we have an idea of the taxes that the county will have to pay in a 12-month period for this property as long as we own it?
Well, based on the, what was it, 196,000 reassessment?
196.3.
All right, that's going to be about $3,000 a year.
$3,000. Okay,
So that'll be the additional taxes that we'll have to pay.
thank you.
I'm sorry?
It's still in all section 8 right now. She didn't remove it yet.
Oh, she
Because
did.
of the tax sale, they get to do that
Yeah.
3-year.
Could you speak into the mic, Lexi? I didn't catch any of that.
Currently, because of the condition of the property, when we were working on this, the assessor, because the work was completed this year, finalized after the March 1st deadline, it's still in roll section 8, has not been pulled out of that, which is a wholly exempt section of the roll. So this year, we will not receive a tax bill for the year coming for January, nor the school is also exempt because we have the treasurer's office the treasurer's office had done a resolution with the town. I forget what that's called.
Well, basically, it says that we can't collect taxes on it because of the condition of the property, so it was made tax exempt. So since 2015, I believe, basically, we stopped the meter running on the taxes. But now that it is in the county's hands, the law basically says that because it's tax foreclosure property, when it comes off of roll section 8 and goes back into regular roll section, then the county will have to start paying school taxes, town taxes, and basically pay ourselves too.
Yes.
So would it be basically next year's school tax?
Yes.
Would be the first
Yeah,
one?
it won't be September's, it'll be of 2021, it would be 2022.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis?
Yes, Peter, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments. Having lived in Ward 2 in the city of Glens Falls for a number of years, if there's one thing in terms of a quality of life issue that people truly support, it's the bike path. Kids, parents, tourists, families together, they love the bike path. Business support for the bike path. Cooper's Cave, that restaurant at the intersection of Sanford and Dix Avenue. Patty has basically told me on more than one occasion that the bike path has presented her with a business opportunity to provide more business for her restaurant, as well as, a creamy ice cream stand. Blackburn Gallery, directly across the street from this site. Brian basically was grateful, eternally grateful, that we took an opportunity to tear down just a terrible, terrible site. I was in Brian's establishment a month or so ago. He said, he thanked the county for its efforts in tearing down the structure. His only comment was, "What's that cement doing out there in the middle of that pile out there? What happened there? Why didn't we get it right from day one?"
Tell him he can have it.
Well, I don't, there's 20 reasons why that occurred. We don't have to hear them again, okay? The problem is we did it badly, okay, at the end of the day. My ward, in terms of the bike path, there are 3 specific points in my ward where the bike path is engaged. People, again, there's tremendous consumer and citizen support for the maintenance and the viability of this bike path. What John Strow is proposing is an improvement to the bike path, that we finally have an opportunity, we finally have an available piece of property to improve the bike path. So I fully support John's proposal. I will support it, again, because it's what taxpayers and consumers in our community support. I can remember one individual saying to me one day, very conservative Republican, lives off Sanford, basically said to me, "Peter, the only good thing this Warren County has ever done is the bike path." Okay, I see him out there with his grandson, and again, pretty conservative guy. Brian, middle of the road Republican at Blackburn Gallery. They want us to take care of this bike path, and when we have an opportunity and have an available piece of property, basically improve the bike path, improve what we're going to do, and I support John Strauss' proposal.
Thank you, Peter. Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well said, Peter. A few points here. From what the residents I've heard from, our number one priority is to protect their tax dollars. This land should be in foreclosure. Not another county-owned piece of property taken off the tax rolls that then increases the residents' burden for their taxes. We have a bike parking lot less than 1 mile away. And I can tell you categorically that I've walked that bike trail, which we all love, probably 10,000 times in the last 11 years. And never once, I walked it this morning. I walked it yesterday morning, the day before. I can go through all 10 years if you'd like. Never once, not once, has that bike parking lot been even half full. Now that's less than 0.8 of a mile away. Never once has it been even half full. Now I want that to resonate with you because we love the bike path. We all do. We love it. But having parking lots all the way up and down the bike path is a waste of your taxpayer dollars. And I'm hearing that very clearly. Somebody goes, "Don't we just have one?" I said, "Yeah, less than a mile away." "Well, why in the heck would we want another one?" I said, "Well, I don't know. It doesn't make any economic sense to take money away from the taxpayers that should be on the tax rolls and ask them to share the burden of something we have less than a mile away." Now, the assessor put $196,300 on this. Now, Mr. Strauss said something about, well, she said, we're lucky if we get 20,000. Then why'd she put 196,000 on it? I don't know. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. If she said we'll be lucky to get 20, but she put 196,300 on it, that just doesn't compute. And again, the math to me, so that's just a talking point. The fact of the matter is, let's do the right thing for the residents of Warren County. We love the bike path, absolutely love it. Stewart's loves it. Blackburn loves it. I think you said Cooper's Cave love it. Maybe someone who buys it puts an ice cream stand like Miss Bramer suggested. Who knows? They'd love it even more then. But the fact of the matter is, when we start taking this land that should be in the private hands and make it county owned just for the sake of somebody wants to feel good, when the vast majority of residents want it to be on the tax rolls, wants their tax burden to be lessened, that makes sense to me. So, in conclusion, Queensberry always has a right to buy that parcel in foreclosure. Like you said, Chairman, like everybody else knows. In fact, the city of Glens Falls bought a piece in foreclosure a couple years ago.
Right.
They did it. So if the town of Queensberry feels that strongly, they can buy it. But it's county owned. It should be back on the tax rolls. It's as simple as that. And hey, people, start using the bike parking lot less than a mile away. If you need a place to park, obviously you don't. But if you did, 0.8 of a mile away, there's one big one. So thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Claudia, did you have something you wanted to?
Oh, I just wanted to echo what Supervisor McDevitt said about the benefit that the bike path brings and the private enterprises that are able to flourish alongside there. And I think it's worthwhile, like Kevin said, to put it out and see if we can get a private enterprise that will purchase this piece of property. We're not in the business of the county is not in the business of running ice cream stands or bike shops or art galleries or other cool things that could be there. We should try to see if there's a private entity out there who will buy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Leggett?
Thanks, Chairman Dickinson. I'm sorry for coming late in this concurrent meeting going on here.
Didn't miss anything.
Something for the board to keep in mind is that we provide an environment where other things can flourish. And while there is merit to saying that all property should go back into the private hands and onto the tax roll, we cannot overlook the fact that when there is an opportunity for the county or any other municipality to add to the assets and amenities that benefit the overall economic environment. And when you look at an amenity such as the bike path, we should look at it strategically and say, well, what else is needed along on this path? Coming up in the next committee meeting is information on a CFA grant application for recreational strategy for the county. A lot of times we shoot at an indefinite target when we make our decisions. And if we have a strategy and we have an idea of a goal of what we want to attain, we can make better decisions on these. And right now, if we say, no, just put it back into private hands, we may be cutting ourselves a little bit short. We may be missing an opportunity to provide for the greater good of our population. So I don't see a rush right now for selling this and putting it back onto the tax rolls. When you look at that triangular piece of land, you see that it has a lot of design constraints to it. It's going to limit anything that's going to happen to it. It's going to limit the value of the land itself. But if you look at the position of it next to the bike path, and along Bay Road, a very busy road, where it can provide access onto these things, we should look at it strategically and be asking the question, how can this augment one of the best Warren County resources, the bike path, and what is its highest and best use for the good to all of the county, for all persons, residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Anybody else? John?
Well, I'd just like to point out that what I'm asking this committee is for you to get the thoughts and the votes and the support or lack thereof of the Board of Supervisors. So what I'm asking for today is for you to consider sending this resolution on to the Board of Supervisors so that they can have a vote on that. So I'd appreciate community support for that.
Thank you. John? Yes, Claudia.
If we're gonna get the temperature of the board, I make a motion that we put this out for a bid in a private auction. Thank you. That's a motion.
Any second to that? Going once? Going twice? Okay,
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
that's Rachel.
I'll remain standing. For committee, according to our rules and to Robert's rules, you don't need a second for that to go forward for a vote if you choose to ask for a vote on it.
Great, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor without a second. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we take a vote? So we have myself, Supervisors Bramer, McDevitt, Smith here. So I'm going to call a point of order and call a vote. All in favor of putting it out on an auction? One. Okay. So what is the pleasure of the board?
My pleasure is to vote on Supervisor Strauss' motion and take it to the full board.
Okay. Anybody want to second that motion? There we go. Is any further comment from the committee? Yes, Claudia?
Well, since you're giving me another crack at it, I'll just say, or maybe Lexi can let us know if the town has ever invested any money towards the cleanup of this property. And, Mr. Strauss says that no one is interested in buying this property and it's only worth 20,000. Well, how do we know that if we don't put it out for a bid to find out? How do we know that if we continue to spin our wheels and spend county dollars to have the planning department review this and go through who knows what to get to a point where maybe we'll do something with it after another couple decades.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anybody else? Doug?
Yeah, I think Mr. Stroud made the comment, no one's shown any interest. But Mr. Swan, would you know of anybody who's shown interest in this property before?
Before the building was torn down and the county took title to it, there were multiple people that were interested in the property for the building itself, for the storage capabilities and so forth. The main reason that it never was sold was because the Mullins had not paid the taxes. The tax liability was 200,000 plus, which made it basically almost impossible for anybody to purchase the property and then pay those back taxes and make the property work. Since the building has been torn down, I've been called by 3 different individuals who have interest in the property. Interest is one thing. Would they actually buy is another? I don't know, but at least I have had 3 calls of people interested since it's been torn down.
Okay.
Follow up.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Swan. So the fact that when someone says there's no interest, that's obviously very false. So there is interest. Well, how do we know what interest? How do we know how to gauge interest if we say, well, there's interest, but we're not going to put it out there so anybody can even bid on it? Like this auction that you proposed, this auction online, we don't have to accept any bid. Then again, we can if we want. So what are we afraid of finding out whether there's interest or not? I mean, that's so weird to me that we don't want to know. Heaven forbid, we know that people actually in the private sector want to buy that and want to put up an establishment and want to pay taxes on it. That to me is so, I don't know what people are afraid of, that they wouldn't want to put that up for auction. It just doesn't make any common sense at all. Thanks.
Thank you, Doug. John?
What are we afraid of? To bring this before the Board of Supervisors and let the majority of the Board of Supervisors decide. What are we afraid of?
Brad?
Thank you, Chairman Dixon. You know, I've been sitting back, how I all felt beforehand and with the building coming down and that, and with the environmentals and that, but really not giving it an opportunity. My constituents and I myself feel that the highest amount of taxes we pay beside our local school taxes is the county tax. I have to say, thankfully, the town of Queensbury taxes are really, for what we get for the town of Queensbury are more than fair. Really, I don't, nobody really complains on that. And there was a time there that the Queensbury residents didn't at all have to pay any tax, but it's time changed, but that's not it. I've been giving this property a chance to see if someone can sell is really what I feel that we should go back to actually see what kind of value this property has. Going out for online auction, let's get a feel. We don't know. I sit on the planning board for the town of Queensbury, and as Supervisor Strauss stated, it does have some limitations. But hey, if we could get a private company to put in a little parking lot and another ice cream stand with a little bicycle stand, but that would be up to the private individual, which would be interesting. But we don't know because we don't try. I would like to at least see that we try to see what this property is valued at, and if we can get moving along and put it back on the tax rolls. Because it has been an eyesore. We've torn it down to a slab. And whatever's coming down the road, that the slab is going to have to be removed. There's so many unforeseen things here, but at least I believe we should have an opportunity to see what it is valued, and if someone would like to take it and purchase it from the county and move forward that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Brad. All right, we have a motion on the floor by Peter. You want to?
Just a quick observation. Offers on property. If someone was truly interested in that property, why don't we get in the real world? Why don't we prepare a contract? Why don't we define what our use is going to be? Why don't we show the real people in the world a commitment from a bank of $500,000 in terms of the financing of that? That's a real contract. That's the real world, okay? We got people calling saying, gee, I have an interest. Come on, let's get a real offer. And then the second question would be, why don't we ask the people in Queensbury if we accept the argument that we're paying a little more in taxes for taking John's proposal to heart? Gee, I'm going to say that they would prefer to pay a little more in taxes to ensure the integrity and the beauty of my bike path, okay? As opposed to taking a Kentucky windage, hope and a prayer that we're going to find someone that's going to do something in a responsible manner on that piece of property. I'll say no more.
Peter, are you modifying your motion or?
No, I would like to support Mr. Stroud's proposal.
Okay,
And I did not need a second on that, apparently.
apparently not.
No.
According to the chief. Claudia. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I won't say anything. It's all good.
Well, we have a motion on the floor. You all heard the argument, so I'm going to take a vote. All those in favor of that motion?
Aye.
2. Okay, only got 2. You got what, 5 on the board? So that's,
Yeah,
Motion.
4 present, so you have 2 for and 2 against.
most motions failed. Ryan?
I mean, we don't have a direction because both of the different philosophies on this have not gotten a majority. So why not have another motion to simultaneously go down both roads and assess our options? I don't see what the harm is in that.
Is that your motion?
I can't make a motion. I'm just trying to advance the issue.
Ryan,
I would support that.
I agree with you.
That's what I wanted to.
Mr. Garrity made that
I
offer.
can't, but I.
No, I mean, he made that offer at the beginning as a suggestion and I agree with it. I think we should travel down both avenues. Allow John to pursue what he wants to do. In the meantime, put it up for auction and see if it has any value. I think the only real argument with that is that I would like to set a minimum price on the property. So with that, Ms. Smith, do you have something?
No, I was just gonna make a motion that we go ahead and put it out there. Being able to refuse it if we don't want to, let John move forward, and then it comes to the entire board, and then we get everybody's opinion there to make a decision either way.
Okay,
I'll second that.
wow. Do you want any stipulation on there about a minimum price?
Well, what would the minimum, I guess that would come back.
All right.
Let's,
Let's put
deal
your
with that.
motion on the floor and then we'll have some discussion. So it's seconded by Claudia?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a motion and seconded. We're open for discussion. Lexi, give us some idea what you think a minimum should be from your point of view.
So I have reached out to the town assessor's office again on this building, this land, I should say. Because when I saw what they did with their assessed value this year, I questioned their value because I thought that raising it was a huge amount that they raised it. So I questioned it and they decided to review it at that time. I believe John is aware of this as well. The assessors removed, yeah, right, I'm gonna draw a blank on words. They lowered the value. It wasn't an enhancement, it was something else. And they took it off because they had a figure on there based on the property being contaminated. So when they took that off, the computer program for the valuation automatically increased the value to the value that they gave it this year. And they did not go back and review that.
What was that, Ron?
That was the amount of 196,300. So I have since spoke to them and they've come up with what they want to put on the roll for next year. They're saying between 65,000 and 75,000 for the property. They thought that 68.7 would be a good figure, but they had not given me 100% that that was the figure. So somewhere is between 65,000 and 75,000 is where they feel that the value should fall at. And Queensberry is at 100%. So that would also be the approximate market value. So I don't know if that is a figure that the committee would want to consider using.
How does the committee feel about that number? 68.5.
It's a big difference.
You want to add that number to your resolution or do you have a different number?
68.7.
68.7?
Mhm.
So are you adding that to your resolution? Supervisor Smith, yes. Claudia, you gonna second that?
I don't really want to, but I will to make it go forward to the board.
I mean, then the rest of the board can make the decision. We don't know which way it's going to go. So at least it gets it out there.
What if,
Good point. So you're all right with that, Ms. Bramer?
if you're looking for a minimum, Or do you want to go with what they feel the full value is? Or would you rather set something more like 50,000? And that would be the minimum that somebody would have to start in at. And then it could go up from there.
What's your pleasure?
Is that,
Because you're saying that we don't have to accept a bid, but if we put a minimum value on it for people to bid, the minimum would be where they would be starting the bid at. Is that the minimum figure,
right?
which would then be that 68.7. You still are going to hold the right to reject the bids.
What's your pleasure?
Jennifer, stand up right up here.
John?
If you're gonna sell it for 50,000, I'd rather see a parking lot for the bike trail.
We
I mean,
didn't say-
so if you're gonna set the bid, set it at what the assessor says is a realistic assessment. I don't think it'll go for that, and we'll end up with our bike parking area. Good. But, 68.7 absolutely should be the minimum, as Supervisor Smith has suggested.
Okay. Buddy?
I want to clarify, are we talking about the minimum bid or the minimum that we will accept as the purchase price?
The one and the same.
Well, no, someone could bid 55 and then we don't accept it.
Correct.
You're giving them a starting point.
That's not the starting, are we talking about a starting point for bids at the auction?
Minimum.
Where we
bid-
t- it
minimum bid
instruct-
is the starting point.
Correct. The minimum bid would be the starting price.
So somebody got offered 68.7.
Well, then
We take
that
it.
doesn't make sense to me to start our minimum at the highest.
Mr. Leggett?
Thank you, Chairman Dickinson. If the argument for selling this land to the private entity because it adds it to the tax roll, we should sell it for what the town assessor thinks it should be for. Is that the value or not? Do you want to get tax money out of this or not? Why would you sell it for less if it's worth more? And also, what is the value of this property? We're really trying to assess the value of the property. 68.7 for 1 acre in the town on Bay Road is probably a pretty cheap price. You can get 100 acres in Chester, but yeah.
I'd rather have Chester. Doug, you've had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's go to Chester and find that. Craig, it sounds good. I think we missed the point here. Once it's on the tax rolls, we get taxes every single year. You're pretending like it's a one-time Charlie deal. If we keep it, we never get taxes again, and we pay a couple $100,000 to pave it and to put up a restroom, which, by the way, less than 0.8 of a mile. Did I mention that? We have one already. So, this makes no sense financially. It makes no sense to quality of life because we already have an excellent bike trail that we've all agreed on. And we've got a biking parking lot that's not even half full used. So once we get it on the private tax rolls, that's a gift that keeps on giving year after year after year. And if we don't, that's the one that we keep reducing year after year after year. And every other person in this room pays more in taxes. So to me, this is a no-brainer. And I welcome the two proposals, Mr. Chairman. I think the board will soundly defeat and put it back on the tax rolls. And I think the town of Queensbury residents, which I happen to represent, would be solidly for that too. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. We had no discussion about the county doing anything there on that property. Claudia?
Just one more. So if Supervisor Smith's resolution is to do the two paths with the option for the auction, and then the minimum price that we will accept is the 68.7.
Correct,
The minimum price we'll accept in order to
correct.
let it go. Okay, all right, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Ms. Seaver?
Thank you, Chairman Dickinson. I think this is a really interesting compromise. And I don't know if any of it has to go through finance before it comes to the board, or if you're just going to, I don't know if you can even waive the rules with that. But my only question here is that we heard Supervisor Strauss say that the town assessor, Terry Ross, who's nationally statewide known, says 20 grand on a good day. Why are you going to set the minimum bid at 60 something then? Put it at 20 and see where they come in after that. If that's really, if that's the feeling from Queensberry, is we'd be lucky to get 20, then set it lower and move forward. We never go to auction with full price.
I appreciate your comment, Chairman Seaver, but I think that 20,000 is horribly underestimated
As a minimum.
and as a minimum. And having been in real estate all of my life, I think there's no reason why we couldn't put it at 68.7 and expect to get that
Okay.
price.
Well, then I hope she was mistaken with that number she gave John, because that's
Well,
a
yeah,
tough one.
I'm gonna leave that alone. Claudia?
I agree with you, Chairman, but I don't think we should be arguing about the details of how Lexi puts it out for auction. We could just put it out there and then see what we get and know we won at least 68.7, right? If she puts it out there for bid at starting at $1, we're not going to take $1,
Right,
right?
right,
Okay,
right.
okay,
You got it.
all right, let's,
No other comments? I'll call the question. All in favor?
I,
So that's 3 of you. And then Chairman, that's 4. So the motion's carried. It'll go to the full board. They'll have a chance to look at this. We're going to do a double path. We're going to take it out to auction and see what it's worth. And in the meantime, we are going to allow the town of Queensberry to proceed with their proposals. So any further comments? Okay. Lexi, you have anything else?
No, I'll wait to see what the the board decides before I take any steps further.
I would do that if I were you. Ms. Seaver?
Just to clarify, so I understand what's happening here, you're going to move forward to the full board with 2 separate resolutions. Is that correct? I mean, I heard Supervisor Smith, I see that look you're giving me, so maybe I have this totally wrong, but I thought one was to put it on auction and sell it. The other was to not do that and keep it for a year, or you combined it all and you're going through with one.
Ryan?
But my suggestion was more in line of this is a resolution to give the board options for this parcel, and in assembling what those options are, we're going to put it out to bid, see what the market says it's
Okay.
worth, and we're also going to, whoever wants to do a study on this other idea, we'll have them commence that study, so that we'll hopefully get a better, when we discuss this issue again, we'll have a better sense of the universe of possibilities. That was what I suggested.
May I just clarify, you're going to be asking then the full board to look at a resolution that puts it on the auction and do a study. So if you vote yes to it, you're voting yes to both things.
Correct.
And that's the resolution put forward. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I
No.
definitely did not understand it.
No,
Okay.
thank you, Rachel.
Can I
Yes,
ask
Alexa?
one more question on this? So with this study, I just am doing this for clarity, I guess, on my part. Is the town of Queensberry paying for this study to be done?
Well, I
Or
can tell you
who's,
the one-
or
County of-
who's paying?
County of Warren's not doing it.
Okay, I just want everybody to be aware that usually there's a cost to a study. So I'm just checking to see who's going to pay for that.
Claudia?
I'll wait till whoever is putting together the resolution, but my mind, the resolution will say something like the county is not going to stand in the way of the town of Queensberry doing a study,
Correct,
Okay,
while we also go down this track of the auction.
correct.
okay.
Are we done? Okay. You got anything else, Lexi? Please tell me no.
Not at this time. Thank you.
Excellent. Chairman Seaver?
I am so sorry. I still have a question about this one. So if it goes at the full board, then we're referring it to the town of Queensberry to take a vote and determine if they want to pay for the study?
No. We're gonna take it to auction and see if it sells.
Okay, but where's the study then if we're voting to do a study?
No,
I
We
thought that was part of the
are
resolution. What am I
interested in
missing?
having Queensberry pursue their thoughts here and give us more detail about what they want to do and where they want to do it and how much it is.
Okay.
Okay? Kevin?
Well, you'll have an answer within 45 days.
Correct.
right.
You'll have an answer within 45 days if you put it out to auction, follow the legalese of doing the auction. put it up for auction. Somebody comes back with a bid higher than 68.7, and the town of Queensbury will make a decision whether they want to study it to pay more than 68.7 for it. I mean, to me, it's simple. Put it out there, you'll get a price back.
Yep.
And then if it doesn't come back, he can knock, then he'll have to go to his town board to get approval to study it.
Okay.
Right, John? Is that how it works?
No,
Go ahead, John.
my resolution said that the town, city, and the county, and the AGFPC will work together to develop a concept and a use for this. Here's what the resolution says. That Warren County Planning and Community Development Department will work with the town of Queensbury and the city of Glens Falls and the AGFPC in researching potential design development and grant opportunities for the proposed Warren County Bikeway facility. That's what my resolution says. We'll all work together.
John, I don't think that's what we approved here.
Well, the Supervisor Seaver pointed out there's some confusion.
If I were the supervisor of Queensbury, and thank God I'm not, I'd wait 45 days and see what happens. Rachel, is that,
Yes, I just was saying, I think that given the fact that John and I are both sitting here agreeing on some confusion might mean that there's some confusion.
well, I think we just straightened it out.
Oh, well, I will defer to you, Mr. Chairman. We'll talk on it.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay. Greg?
If I can just do a follow-up comment. This is a great example of where stakeholders have not been included in the decision-making process. The town of Queensbury is one of the decision makers. The county has property within the town of Queensbury, and we think that it's ours free to do whatever we think best to do with that land. But it fits within a community, and this has come up multiple times over the years that I've been sitting in this seat, where the county, our board here has not really reached out and included stakeholders in our decision making, and it's something we need to do a better job of.
I would slightly disagree with you there, Craig. I think we've included John in this conversation. I think we've gotten a feel from the board generally where it's going. We have not stopped him from doing what he wants to do. And in 45 days, if the property's not sold, we'll be back with this conversation with Mr. Strauss. Claudia?
I just want to say to Supervisor Leggett's point, I know that the town board members have been approached too. And they have reached out to Lexi, and they know the protocol for purchasing it out of the auction. And I do know that the biking community is well aware of what's happening, and they are weighing in. I just wanted to say that because the stakeholders have been approached. They have been involved. And in fact, I believe Supervisor Strauss started this effort back in 2018, working on his rendering of the parking area.
I agree to your point, Claudia. The town of Lake George with Queensbury is doing a biking park in off Bloody Pond Road. And the biking community has been tremendously supportive in every way in that project. Do you have something, Peter? Good. Okay. French Mountain. No. It's actually McPhillips Reserve. Okay. Anybody in the peanut gallery got something for us?
Can I just clarify? So am I waiting for this to go to the board meeting and then I will take it to the auction company and then get results 45 days from that? I'm not starting until there's a decision made from the board, correct?
That is correct.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
correct.
That's all I needed to know.
Okay. I suppose we don't need a motion to adjourn. We need to go to environmental concerns.
I don't have
There's
anything,
nothing,
Chairman. I
nothing.
guess,
Excellent.
Yeah.
Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Peter? Claudia?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much, all of you.